This video is probably going to be a bit disorganized and stream of consciousness-like. I wrote the script quite close to the video's deadline, so it's really not as refined as I'd have liked at all. I really actually hate this script. Hello and welcome to Thank You, all of you. Or maybe just some of you. I don't know who's watching this. This video is basically going to be about my experiences with the LPSTube community, how I found it, and how it has helped me as a creative person, I guess. I'm giving up on the fire because it does not stay on long enough. To start this out, I'm going to go all the way back before I had access to the internet. I kind of wish that time had lasted longer, and back before I even knew what LPS were. I never actually had them as a kid. I think I've always been a creative person. As a kid, I always made stories for myself, mostly when playing with my various toys, which I know is obviously very normal and not, like, a unique special thing, that's not what I'm trying to say. Bear with me, I am setting the stage. A lot of my quote-unquote stories, especially one specific one for my Playmobil toys and a handful of Lego figures, had surprisingly long and surprisingly linear plot lines. I'd play out different scenes from different times in the stories, almost always out of order. Sometimes things from the very beginning, sometimes things near the end in quotation marks, because I never came up with an end, because I really didn't need to. Later, when I was around 7 or 8, I think, I was introduced to the game Minecraft. Again, bear with me, please. After becoming enthralled by the game, I mostly switched away from playing with toys to playing it instead, and doing basically the same things in it. I'd start up creative mode worlds, build structures, and look at pre-existing ones, and imagine what sort of peoples lived in them and sometimes died horrifically in them. I don't really put a lot of emphasis on this in the script, but I do feel like it was kind of the bridging point between just playing and actually making stories, if that makes sense. As I got a bit older, about 11 or so, I grew out of playing, but not out of coming up with stories. Only now I had no outlet for them. Dressing up my avatar in Roblox role-playing games and just standing in that role-playing just wasn't cutting it for me. That's when I discovered... Oh god, please, no! I can't talk about creative outlets without mentioning my regrettable time in the Gacha Life community. I wish I could. I really wish I could. I joined the Gacha community in October of 2018 and officially quit in May of 2020. It was a time. I don't exactly regret it because it is what made me teach myself the very basics of video making, and I was proud of what I made at the time. Pretty soon after joining the Gacha community, I did, in fact, discover the LPSTube community. Yes, we're finally getting to LPSTube. I found the LPSTube community sometime between November 2018 and January 2019. If I remember correctly, which I probably don't, the first LPS video I ever watched was either LPS Skittles' 10 Things I Hate About Public Restrooms video, or Alice LPS's Reacting to Old Videos video. I think it was probably the latter if it was either of them, because at the time I was weirdly obsessed with watching people react to their old videos, even if I'd never watched the YouTuber before. I have no idea why. So I went further down the rabbit hole a bit, and I decided that I wanted in. Finding LPS for myself was both a struggle and not. At the time, LPS were technically in stores, but they were G5. My first LPS was this G5 hamster. I have a distinct memory of finishing up my swimming lesson that day, going to the store and buying him with my allowance. Him because he was the only full-size LPS there. I ended up acquiring quite a number of G5 pets, and that's when I decided to record my first video on January 23rd of 2019. Kind of. I don't really count this video as much of anything because I recorded it with my friend and they did most of the voices and stuff, and I literally just screamed. High art. Truly a high art. So I continued like that for a while. I basically only made videos with that same friend who, in hindsight, was very obviously not enjoying themselves at all and uploaded them onto my Gacha channel, which probably really confused my, like, 2 regular viewers. I recorded almost exclusively with that friend, mostly because I was too insecure to record on my own. I was extremely uncomfortable talking to a camera by myself, which I obviously got over in time, but it was really a struggle for a while. Sorry, friend, who I don't even know anymore. As time went on, I also started to acquire some G2 LPS for myself, because it did bother me not having the same LPS as all the LPSTubers I liked. These two were possibly my first G2 pets. I bought them together in a lot. I planned on making the black and white one my mascot, but I ended up changing my mind because it was too happy looking for me, which... I remember buying these for a Clue parody I was going to make. I was obsessed with the board game Clue at the time, for some reason. This one would have been Miss Scarlet, and this one would have been Colonel Mustard, of course. This third one just came in the same lot as the bulldog. I was planning to make him somewhat of a reoccurring character, I think. He was like one of those, you know, stupid boy characters quite a few LPSTubers had, or maybe not quite a few. I think like 2 people had them. Yeah, I think like Sophie GTV's Tom videos. His name was Cooper. I used him in one video and then I never used him again.
He's not your grandmother. He's Croissant Man. Get out of there.
Poor Cooper. After a while, I made a separate channel for my LPS videos. This channel, but under the name LPSTube Productions, to go with my Gacha channel. OOB was my online alias at the time, for some reason. Going back to me being uncomfortable recording videos, my channel trailer was actually just text on a background because I could not do it that day. I remember being so frustrated every time I tried to say something, and it just didn't sound right, so I just gave up. I made videos on both my Gacha Life and LPS channels for about a year, but after a while I just started to connect with LPSTube more. As much as I liked making Gacha videos, I did not like being in that community. Granted, a lot of that was to do with the community's extremely bad reputation. You couldn't go 5 feet without seeing a Gacha cringe compilation. It was the community to hate. It was honestly kinda awful in hindsight, like literal just bullying children, but you know, who cares about that, I guess. But I also just didn't really like it there. Most of the videos people made didn't appeal to me at all, and I felt like the videos I made didn't really have a place. I can think of maybe one Gacha creator I was a fan of, but that's it. But on LPSTube, there were so many videos and creators that I actually genuinely enjoyed watching. There was also more of an audience for the type of videos I like to make, which at the time was comedy skits. I fully quit my Gacha channel in May of 2020 after figuring out how to navigate Kappa, which I'm avoiding discussing here because I'm saving it for another video someday, and also just because, oh my god, the script is so long in terms of word count. Oh my god, I hate it. Now that we're fully into my first LPS era, I'm going to try and speed things up a bit. I wrote my first script in early February of 2020. It was for a stop motion video called Free Ravioli. You'd never guess that it was scripted, and not in a good way.
Madison, this is the best day of my life. There's free food. We need to go in there and try it. No.
Even if it didn't pay off super well right away, I think choosing to script my videos was one of the best decisions I've ever made for my content. I am not made for improv. 2020 was an interesting year for me, obviously, but it was the year I really started to properly get into creating LPS videos. I made the most LPS videos I've ever made in a year that year, and I think I learned a lot doing it. I also tried developing a series for the first time that year, which obviously fell through, but it was my first time writing out part of a story and truly trying to write characters in a way I hadn't before, as in at all. And then 2020 was over, and I began to lose interest in LPSTube in favor of freaking no! Yeah, I'm not even gonna talk about that. All you need to know is that I took a 5 or 6 month break from this channel, but still continued to work on my various stories. Specifically a story that ended up being the foundation for the series I'm writing today. Unfortunately, I do not like that origin. In July, I came back to this channel with my metaphorical tail between my legs. No matter how hard I tried, I could never carve myself a niche in the Gacha community. In hindsight, thank God. I think switching and then returning definitely gave me a new appreciation for this community. It's not perfect by any means, but it could be so much worse. So much worse. After coming back, the way I interacted with the LPSTube community changed a bit. Back in 2019 and 2020, I didn't really look for LPS videos. Sure, I watched them, but I never strayed away from the popular creators. I never sought out anything else. I think the smallest LPSTuber I watched back then was LPS Sugar Studio, who was by no means a small creator. After rejoining, I began to actively seek out LPSTubers to watch. Not just LPSTubers with over 50k subscribers. Partially because, you know, quit, but I also started to comment on people's videos, which seems super mundane, but it was never really something I did before. I feel like this was the start of me really deeply caring about LPSTube as a community of people, not just a video format, if that makes sense. I don't know anyone here personally, and maybe I never will, but I feel connected in a way, if that makes sense. That sounds quite creepy, actually. I never took another break quite as long as the 2021 one. I've been making videos pretty consistently, not necessarily frequently, but consistently. Making these videos has become one of my biggest sources of joy, I guess. Oh god. So I haven't felt the same need to just completely leave for a while. There haven't been as many specific events in my more recent years on the channel, so this is where I'm ending my little timeline and just going back to what I said at the beginning. I'm a creative person, or at least I think of myself that way. It's just so nice to have a place where I can, you know, express that and have other people see it, especially other LPSTubers who have an understanding of the process and appreciate it outside of it being, you know, stupid toy videos. This also goes the other way. I really love watching people's LPS videos and being able to guess at how they made certain things, like effects and sets. It makes many things all the more impressive when you have an idea of what went into making them. I love how creative and dedicated people in this community can be, and I just truly wish them like so much luck with what they're doing, and yeah, you guys, yeah. It's nice to have people I can look to for inspiration, I guess. Watching other people's videos motivates me to keep making my own. Also, I didn't end up putting this in the script, but I'm gonna put this here anyway. I also think it's really cool, not necessarily current LPSTubers, but people who used to do LPSTube, and then that like motivated them to like freaking go to film school and stuff, and that's just so cool. And also I occasionally see stuff where it's like, very occasionally, it's only happened a few times, people making like projects for their film stuff, like actual assignments with LPS, and I think that's really cool, and it just like kind of validates the fact that this is not just me, there's actual merit to doing this a little bit. I just think it's really cool, like, people who actually, you know, found a passion doing this. LPSTube has also pushed me to learn quite a few new skills. I learned how to write decent scripts because of this, albeit not professionally formatted. Yeah, that's a different skill. I learned the basics of voice acting solely because of these videos, and it pushed me to improve my character and plot writing in ways I honestly would never have thought I could. All my characters, including non-LPS ones, are so much better now than they would have been if I wasn't given a reason to improve. Creating new characters comes so much easier now that I have a better grasp on writing. I feel like I'm able to write more types of people with, you know, different motivations, different personalities, perspectives, and all that than I was before. All my characters used to just end up being reskins of the same dude over and over again, but now it's like the same 3 or 4 dudes at least. I'm also finally trying my hand at serious short films, which are more of a challenge for me than skits in almost every aspect, which I know will make them a lot more rewarding to finish. It's nice to actually sit down and write some of the videos I've been wanting to pivot to since at least 2 years ago, and I feel like I'm at a point where they might actually turn out well, fingers crossed. I'm not saying like being an LPS tuber is why I'm better at writing, but it's the reason I really chose to learn how to write. At least a little bit, and I'm really happy that this was the community that pushed me to do that. My current LPS series concept is also the longest I've stuck with an idea, over 3 years at this point, so that's promising in a way. I've always ended up losing interest in my own ideas after a while, typically after I get stuck on a plot point and then I lose motivation. It's reassuring that yes, I am able to push through it for ideas I care about. That is like actually a really big thing that I'm not really sure how to articulate how. So yeah, I feel like I really didn't say what I truly want to do with this. I really do care about this community, maybe a bit too much, honestly. I'll probably never have a future in the creative industry, and I can't just do this forever, at least not at this capacity. You know, I'm like unemployed, homeschooled, so I can do this a lot, but I know that's gonna change, and then I'm probably gonna have to quit. Oh god, that's not what this video is supposed to be about. But at the end of the day, okay, it's just nice feeling like maybe a few of my ideas won't live and die only in my head. That's what the beginning bit was trying to set up, but I couldn't figure out how to properly tie it together narratively. Sort of script is honestly a very different skill. And going back to that, I don't feel like I emphasized enough how much of like the playing I did was like very story-based. Kind of hard to explain without explaining things I don't want to. Telling myself stories has just been such a thing for me, and I didn't get it across at all. Thank you for watching. I imagine this was probably an odd video to sit through, so truly thank you for sticking with it, and happy LPSTube Day, and bye.